if you get up and leave and you don't have a plan, and I say this to my staff, I say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Welcome to another episode of Dreams Made Possible, where we share Life 101 conversations for a great life. I'm your host, Botaki Hlalele, a life coach on a mission to cultivate personal mastery and self-worth in others. In this podcast, we conversate with personal development specialists, leaders across different walks of life who have left an indelible mark on others, and ordinary folk who have beat the odds to be where they are. Before we dive deep into the conversation, please click on the link below and subscribe so that we can grow a community of dreamers. Welcome to today's episode, and our guest today is none other than Nadine Clevely. She is the Group CEO of Claytech Holdings, and in her own words, she is on a mission to eradicate period poverty and gender-based violence. She is also a founder of Women Warehouse. We are here to hear all about all those, and please help me to welcome Nadine. Welcome, Nadine, to Dreams Made Podcast. And we appreciate the time that you have set aside to be able to be with us today. And when we start our conversation here at Dreams Made Podcast, we would like to know the person behind the story. And how we start that is just by understanding who is Nadine, what type of life experiences have made the person that you are?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me on your show. And to tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm 52 years old.
Wow.
I am a mother of two, and I'm a grandmother of two.
Wow.
My grandbabies are 3 and 4.
Yes.
And I was born in Mpumalanga, in a small town called Sabi. I was born in the hospital over there, but brought up in quite a poor environment. I lived in a caravan, believe it or not. I was brought up in a caravan for a period of time. And when my parents, obviously, we moved from there, we moved to Durban and we moved to Johannesburg. And we've been around the country quite a lot. And I think for me, just some life experiences as a person, growing up, in the 70s and 80s, there was never, women equality didn't exist, didn't matter what color you were. It doesn't matter if you're white, colored, Indian, black. Yeah. Equality in the workplace was just not there for women. And it's something that I always questioned and didn't understand why I was never treated as an equal.
Yes.
And, women get taken advantage of in so many spheres of their life.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that happened to me as well. So I am a victim of gender-based violence. Okay. And unfortunately, sometimes these things can break you as a person. And you can go down one road or it can strengthen you.
Yes.
And I do believe that God allowed this to happen to me because his word does say, I will give you beauty for ashes.
Yes.
And he has molded and shaped me, and through the various experiences in my life, from a child, being an adolescent, a teenager, going through the things that I went through there, and then obviously going into the workplace, experiencing the real harsh life realities, molded me to be the woman that I am today.
Yes.
And obviously I'm a Christian, I believe in God, and I love him. And I had fought with him many, many years and asked him, but why? Yeah. Why is it that this persona of womanhood and who we are perceived so in such a negative light and not a positive light?
Yeah.
And he answered me.
Okay.
And he gave me the answer, and he said that you are actually an Ezer. So if you have a look at Adam and Eve in the Bible, Eve is in the English language is called a helper. And unfortunately, in our English tongue and society, the enemy has used helper as almost like I'm your servant. But that word in Hebrew actually means Ezer. And the Ezer means that she's a strong tower, that she's a help in need when you're in trouble. She is somebody that will help you to be better, not somebody to be your helper as in serve you.
Yes, yes.
And my motto is, without a woman, man is only half the story.
Correct.
I am not a feminist, but I do believe that together as a unit, we are powerhouse together. I'm equal to you as a man. I just have a different role. And, you shouldn't treat me as lesser, because I might be weaker from a strength perspective, but everything else, I'm your equal.
That's so powerful. Thank you for that. And you say, in your words, the quote that you say, or the words that you like to say, that a man is half a man without a woman.
That's right, yes.
And isn't that a true aspect of life? And I think it is something that most people do not understand or grapple. In your experience, and maybe if you allow us, we'll get into the manifestation of gender-based violence in your case. But based on what you said, what do you think people do not seem to grasp what I want to call a simple fact of reality, that we are equals?
I think it's just from times gone past. It's a generational thing. It's from generation to generation, and you've got to go right back down your genealogy of where it comes. And it really does start in the Garden of Eden, because unfortunately, a lot of men would say it was Eve's fault because she took the apple and she influenced Adam. But Adam was standing right next to her.
Yes.
In the garden, and it was just from there that women have not been treated the same, and been looked at as lesser, and unfortunately, if we look at where we live today, in the 21st century, we've evolved as people.
Yes.
And surely in the 21st century, we should be equal. The things have gone past, and the things that have happened in the past, that shouldn't influence who we are now.
Correct, yeah.
And this is what I'm fighting for, is equality in the workplace, equality in the home, equality in the religious spaces, equality for women everywhere. Because why do we in the 21st century as women still have to be looked at as lesser? We don't get paid the same. From an HR perspective, I'm sure you all know this, women don't get paid the same as a man, even though they have the same qualification. And I question that, and I say, why? You sometimes find that women will actually work much harder. They're more efficient than their male counterparts, but they don't get paid the same. Then we have the sexual harassment that we have in the workplace. And I don't say that men don't get sexually harassed in the workplace, because they do. But the majority of the victims are women. And if we have a look at gender-based violence, it's the same. Men also are victims of gender-based violence, but the majority are women. And we get taken advantage of.
Oh, yes, that's so true. That's so true. And I think that's, and sorry to interject there, but I think that's the crux of the matter, because when these discussions are had on talk shows, on TV shows and stuff, I think there always pops that part to say, but it's not only women, it's only... we also as men are going through this. So as an activist, can I call you that, an activist in that space? How would you help a young man growing up, an older man that is or somebody who puts that as the first argument when they hear the word gender-based violence? How would you advise them to look at that differently, or to understand it differently?
I think that when we look at gender-based violence, it's all about identifying red flags in the person that you are with. So if we have a look at, say for instance, a young single male or female, and I'm dating that person, a lot of times what we do is we want to date somebody that's an ideal in our mind. And unfortunately, in today's society, money talks. So we have, from a woman's perspective, we think that if I get the guy with the Lani car and the nice house, and he's a wealthy guy, I will ignore the other things, the red flags, because there are red flags. And we actually run a workshop called Red Flags to identify, what are the red flags to identify a potential abuser. But we ignore them. Because actually, when you are with somebody and you see something and you feel something in your gut that's not right, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, you'll feel it. It's almost like your sixth sense will tell you there's something wrong here. We ignore it because we think we can change that person. Or we would want the benefit of the money or the benefit of all the nice things. So we ignore it and push it to one side. And then unfortunately, those red flags turn into reality. And the cycle of abuse starts. So, I would give men the same advice as I do women. As you know, if there's a red flag, there's certain red flags that will identify that this is possible abuser, but then there's stop signs.
Yes.
Something like, for instance, if somebody hits you, that's a stop sign. That's like, stop.
Yeah.
I need to get out of this relationship. Because if he does it once, he's going to do it again, or she does it once, she's going to do it again.
So you mentioned the cycle, and for the benefit of somebody at home who either may not be aware of the red flags or they avoiding to the truth that it is the red flag, how does this cycle happens in that abusive state? And if you can, so that it becomes more clearer, would you mind to get us into your story of that cycle, how it happened, and so that somebody can really make sense and touch what does a gender-based violence look like?
Well, I think it starts in the home. Unfortunately, we live in a very violent society today. And especially, I think, in South Africa, my cycle of abuse started when I was a child. Unfortunately, I have a lot of respect for my father and my mother, but they loved alcohol. My dad loved his brandy and Coke. Unfortunately, when he drank too much, it changed the way that he looked at things. It changed the way that his mind worked. And as a child, you get exposed to that. And when you're small, you think that that's normal. But unfortunately, what happened to us is that the one night my dad actually got so out of it and he lost his mind completely. He actually tried to kill us. He pulled a gun and I remember my mom had to grab my brother and myself and we actually went and hid in the neighbor's garden. And it's traumatic when you go through something like that as a child. Even though there is restoration, because it does happen, restoration does happen, and thank God for that. But unfortunately, if that cycle is not broken, a child gets brought up in that scenario, and then what happens is that child takes it to their school, and you normally find that children that are abused at home are the bullies at school.
Yes.
So that's where the cycle of abuse starts. And unfortunately, gender-based violence is not something that you can stop instantaneously. It is a cycle and it's a long-term thing. And in actual fact, I don't know if we could ever stop gender-based violence because we live in an evil world. And there are evil people out there and there are people that are being abused on a daily basis and the cycle just continues. What we're trying to do with our workshops and our gender-based violence workshops is we're trying to educate. Because when you're educated and, knowledge is power, and if I understand what I'm looking for, like the red flags workshop that I have, I can then know, okay, this is potentially I can get myself into that situation. And another thing that we do is we do anti-rape classes. Very, very deep inside of me, close to my heart, is femicide in this country. Every 10 seconds, a woman is killed or raped in this country. 10 seconds. It is shocking. And I'm saying that as a woman, you need to know how to protect yourself. So what do I do if I find myself in that situation? So that's what we do is we educate. So we teach you in our anti-rape classes, we teach you your awareness, your surrounding awareness, body language, and then if somebody does grab me, what do I do in that situation? And we give you techniques on how to actually get out of a rape situation. It gives you enough time to run away or get help, scream for help. That's something that every woman needs. And unfortunately, what we do as women is we spend a lot of money on our hair and our nails and our makeup and everything, but we don't invest in our safety.
Correct,
until it happens.
Yes.
And so my message to the girls out there would be is invest in your safety before you invest in your looks, because your looks are fleeting, but your life is more important, because you can actually get murdered or killed in an instant. And that can happen to anybody.
Yes. So there are levels to this gender-based violence, and you speak about your experience as a child and things that nothing horrific happened that night. Your father pulled the gun, that you were restored, you and your mother, and as a child you probably don't have that language, and to say, and I'm saying in general terms, to give it a meaning, to say this is not okay, this is abuse, That's why some people imbue it into their system and then they carry it on into schools. They become bullies and stuff. So for a parent out there at home who might have a child who is being abused, that's number one, or a older sister, older brother, what would they look for? What signs would they see that maybe something is not wrong in this child? And it's a two-part question. The second part of the question is, then once you are aware of these things,
what do you do?
What do you do?
Look, I think that when you look at abuse in a child, the first tell sign that a child has been abused is the behavior changes. Immediately, a child's behavior changes, they become withdrawn, they don't want to be around people, the eating habits change, and you can see that. If you know your child, you'll notice that. A lot of times what will also happen is, especially with teenagers, is when their behavior change, they become rebellious. They start injuring or hurting themselves. We find that a lot of teenagers today cut themselves, and this is why your teenage suicide rate has gone up so much. So again, it's all about educating, and I think that there's such a big gap in society today that parents are so busy trying to make a living, because we're living on with COVID hitting us and everything that's happening. We're having both parents working so hard to try and make up. A lot of mothers and fathers lost their jobs, they're on cutthroat budgets, and we miss our kids. And we're saying to parents is, don't miss your children, even though you are trying to survive and you're trying to keep the family going and you're trying to provide. It's important to spend quality time with your children. It's important to get to know your children, especially when they're teenagers. Teenagers are so volatile, and what we do is we don't take the time to get to know them. We don't take the time to sit down and talk to them and find out what's happening in their lives. And they're all over the place because their hormones are all over the place. They don't actually know who they are. And then you have on top of that instability of who they are as people. I'm a child, but I've got all these hormones happening and my body's changing. And then they've got that to deal with, but on top of that, then they've got to deal with abuse. And how do I handle all of that? And the parent is the one that needs to be able to identify the red flag in their children. And that's why education is so important, and this is what we do.
Okay. So, and this is so vital, Nadine, what you're saying, because some parents outsource that responsibility. They want to outsource it to the teacher at school, to a pastor at church, or any other social worker maybe. All these people do play a significant role in this whole thing. However, the primary responsibility, as you say, lies with the parent. And probably in the absence of a parent, whether it's as a result of death or being absent, someone must be bigger and take the stand so that they can protect the children. And I guess that's the message that you are conveying to us, correct? Yes,
and I think it's all about just, at the end of the day, parent and child relationship, it's about you forming a relationship and a good relationship with them and knowing your child. Being a parent. A lot of us, we don't want to be parents. I find that, with the younger parents now. So, my partners have children that are, in primary school, and the one child is in high school, and they're facing so much more than my kids did, because you've got all these other influences now. Social media is such a big role. They play such a big role, and that's why it's so critical to actually know your children and understand them and spend time with them. But we don't. I find that parents don't do that. They don't spend time with their children.
So now, you're so right about the spending time with the children. As you say, juggling many balls, being involved in this and this, which honestly does not make an excuse to leave your children in the lurch. I totally take that. In addition, gender-based violence also happens with older people, not only with children. So you find instances where women, for example, stay in relationships where this violence is meted to them.
Yes.
And they still remain in this relationship. And I, for one, will never even try to fathom why they stay in those relationships, because psychologically, I would like to understand why people stay in those relationships. Now, either through your experience as a child or your experience through interacting with different women in your class and stuff, what is it that makes people to stay in those relationships? And is it something that we can be able to help somebody with? Yes, you mentioned education, I understand, but is there something over and above?
Look, if you look at I'd say 90% of the women that stay in those relationships is because even though they're being abused, it's their form of security. Because you find a lot of times in an abusive relationship, the person that's abusing them is their provider. So they don't have a way or a mean to actually leave. And that saddens me because, you would risk your life for the comfort. But there are ways to leave. And this is what we educate and say, if you're serious about leaving a relationship, there's a process that you need to go through. You can't just get up and leave. Because that if you get up and leave and you don't have a plan, and I say this to my staff, I say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Correct, yeah.
And it's the same in an abusive relationship. If the woman is really serious, because she needs to make that decision, or he needs to make that decision that I'm going to leave. Once you've made the decision you're going to leave, and you then contact people, and we do this in our workshop, we give you a strategy on how to leave. So this is where things like, for instance, an abuser will withhold money. And they'll only give them a certain amount of money in a month to spend. And period poverty. This is a passion of mine as well, and we'll probably talk about that later. But some husbands won't even give their wives money for sanitary wear. That's how manipulative they are, and that's a sign of that's a form of abuse. Yes. So there's different forms as well. It's not just the physical abuse. There's mental abuse. There's religious abuse. Where your partner will force you to be part of a certain religion. There's various types of abuse. Yes. So gender-based violence is not just sexual or physical.
Maybe unpack those few for us. You mentioned religious abuse, just to educate people at home. Religious abuse, probably next to it is cultural, or it's religious/cultural type of abuse. You mentioned probably there's financial, there's physical. Talk to us just so that we can have a better understanding of these elements of various types.
Look, let's talk about the cultural one, because I think that's quite a big one. And when we talk culture, and it doesn't matter what culture you are, in the white culture, Indian culture, black culture, even colored culture, when a woman is abused, so for instance, let's talk about the Afrikaans culture. So in the Afrikaans culture, what you will find is that women will be silenced. You are not allowed to say anything. And even if you go and speak to your auntie or, to your oma about something, they'll say, "Ons praat nie daaroor nie. We don't talk about that." Okay. And they are silenced. And I think that if we have a look at, for instance, the colored culture, there's a financial abuse that goes there because the parents expect their children for them to pay for their parents. They ask for money all the time, and and I think it's important that children look after their parents, but they give their whole salary. Yes. And they're expected to give their whole salary. So that's a form of abuse as well. And if you look at the black culture, when women get married, and you will know better than I do, they sing that song about the knife. And the woman needs to take the sharp point. And what does that actually say? It's saying that I'll cut you and you've got to just deal with it, And that's a form of abuse. That's cultural abuse. You know, when you are not allowed to stand up and say, actually, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But you're forced to do that.
Yes.
And you're forced not to say anything. So it's not, you know, for me, I'm just saying no. You know, we're living in the 21st century.
Yes.
That needs to stop.
Yeah.
You know, because you're not looked at as an equal.
Yes. So it in the African culture, it puts more burden on the woman to say there will be life challenges. Hence the edge of the knife, and you've got to stand up and take lead of the family and all the challenges. Yeah. But as you say, it puts more burden on. So the essence of it is to say, take responsibility for this family and grow it.
Yeah.
So as you say, there are these different elements to abuse, religious, cultural, as you paint them out.
Yes.
And you say you are on a mission.
I am.
to use eradicate, and we'll come to the to the poverty aspect. As far as
period poverty.
Yes, and then to the gender-based violence. Now, there are different role players in this regard. There's family itself, as you have articulated. There is police that have got a role to play. There are churches, you know, all of those. So there's also the government, because yes, there's this December 1st to 16th December activity that happens every year. But what I want to ask you is, in your space, how do you partner with any of those, if there's any partnership, to ensure that we really deal with gender-based violence head on?
Unfortunately, in our country, the government are not doing a lot for gender-based violence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's not resources, there's no money being put behind to help combat gender-based violence. Because if they really wanted to do that, they would be having educational workshops in schools. We're talking about it in schools. They would have programs for women, for men, and they would be educating society, but they don't do that. You know, you have a look at our justice system. The perpetrators get away with it. You know, women that are being abused that go and report this, what happens? Nothing. You know, they get laughed at in police stations.
Yes.
I mean, we're helping women that have gone and reported gender-based violence to police, and some police stations are really good.
Yeah.
You know, we partner with Sandton Police Station, and they're really good. They've got a gender-based violence unit, and they do a lot of work in the community. But then there are other police stations that don't. You know, so for me, even when you look at your rape victims, when they go into the police station, some police stations are really good, others are really bad. They don't even have rape kits. Women don't get put in separate units where they are spoken to nicely and gently. You know, the whole justice system is broken. And that saddens me, because when you are a victim, where do you go? Who's going to help you?
Yes.
So this is why we marched, and we were talking before the show, we marched to the JSC against gender-based violence. It was 2 years ago. And we're trying to, you know, we were standing in Sandton with our faces painted like we were beaten up. And we did a protest, and we wanted to make the public aware of what happens to women in this country, what happens to victims in this country. And for me, the saddest thing was we were advocating for period poverty, and we actually stood there with white tracksuits on with period stains, and people wouldn't look. And I was like, don't look away. This is reality in my country.
Correct. Yeah.
It's a reality in the country that we face today. Okay, 33% of women and children don't go to school or work because they're menstruating. The dignity of a woman's been taken away. And I'm like, don't look away, look. Because this is what your average woman in this country that earns less than 10,000 Rand a month sits with. She has to choose, do I eat or bleed? Do I eat or bleed? Do I feed my family? Or, you know, do I use rags and toilet paper and newspaper, a sanitary ware? Now, I'm sorry. We can eradicate period poverty in this country. Eradicate it. I need I think we need 2.1 billion rand. Give me 2.1 billion and I'll eradicate period poverty right now. The government can give me that money, we'll eradicate it.
And then what form would that take? Is it?
It's sustainable sanitary wear. This is what we do. So sanitary wear we give to women and to girls, sustainable sanitary wear that's going to last them 5 years. And it only costs like 120 rand. It's not even expensive. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I challenge Mr. Ramaphosa and I'd say to him, if you want to leave a legacy in period poverty in this country, because you can.
No, definitely.
You can.
Yeah, because if we can, and I don't know the figures around it, if we can provide condoms on a monthly basis.
Sex is a choice.
Yes.
Menstruating is not.
Correct. Oh, no, that's powerful. But then I don't know if in your work you have looked at that as to why is the government able to provide those condoms? And what you're saying is powerful. Sex is a choice and puberty is not. Period pains are not. You know, it's part of the biology of a woman. So have you gone into that type of work to try and find out why can't you provide sanitary pads whereas condoms can be provided for free?
Look, the government, you know, it's a process with the government. You know, we are in the process of working with them and we are trying now. But what we're doing is we're saying to corporate South Africa, use your CSI budget where you can actually eradicate period poverty in schools, in your workplace. So if you look at your blue-collar workers, all right, so these are your ladies that are working in your factories, your manufacturing plants, any lady that's earning less than 10,000 rand. Let's talk to the ladies that are employing domestic workers. You know, these ladies complain and say, the domestic worker is stealing my toilet paper. Okay, that's a thing. It's a real thing. Majority of the women say, oh, you know, I don't know what my lady's doing, but my toilet paper is just going. Have you ever just actually sat and thought that maybe she's using the toilet paper for sanitary wear? You know, she's not stealing your toilet paper to take it home. Maybe she's taking it home to her daughters because she can't afford sanitary wear. So why don't you donate a sanitary pack for your domestic worker and ask her if she's got daughters and eradicate that in that family? So we can all do something. We can all do something. It's not, you know, we can go and buy a takeaway for our family that's going to cost us 400 rand. Okay, but you still got food in your fridge. Give me that 400 rand and I can help 2 families. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's not something that is difficult. And this is why I'm on a mission with this. This is why we do what we do. Wow. And we're saying to people, you go onto our website, you know, www.womenswarehouse.co.za, and there's a donate button. You know, even if you donate 50 rand, we will eradicate period poverty little by little. You know, as we get the funds in, we go into schools, we go into communities. It's International Women's Month next month.
Yes, on the 8th.
Yeah, so do something. Do something with the extra. If you're going to go and buy a takeaway, rather, you know, go and buy yourself some bread and bologna or something, or Russian and chips, instead of going and buying, you know, a pizza that's going to cost you 150 rand. And give free a woman of period poverty.
And I guess my question is answered as to why you went to the JSE. And I guess it's about raising this awareness and appealing to them to say, hey, use your CSI budget. If that is the case, what was the response like since the march that you took to them?
No, it's been very good. The JSE has donated money to us. But, you know, they're just an organization as well. So that's why we're saying corporate South Africa, get behind this. You know, write this into your policies and procedures. So I'm going to HR and saying, write this into your policies and procedures, and all your blue-collar workers, make it that when you're having your induction program, include a menstrual pack for your worker, part of your induction program. So then she doesn't have to worry about buying sanitary wear for the next 5 years. I mean, it's not difficult. We can eradicate this problem in our country, and corporate South Africa has got the money. It's not like they don't have the money. They do. You know, there's so many different ways we can tackle this. You can put it part of your payroll, you know, where you have a donate of 2 rand or 5 rand from your salary, donate that, and we can eradicate it. Think about if everybody donates $5,000. How many women are we going to set free?
Correct, yeah.
And this is why I'm so passionate about it, but it's getting the message out there. Thank you that I've got this platform, and everybody that's listening,
Yes.
Please think about donating $5,000, $10,000, and we will do the work. That's what we do. We go out and we do the work. There's nothing more empowering for me to walk into an impoverished school where you see the girls that they don't even have decent school wear to wear. Dresses are torn and all of that. Those girls, man, their dignity is being taken away from them. They don't go to school. So they are now automatically discriminated against because they're not going to school for a full year. Do you understand what I'm saying? It breaks my heart. Every time I cry. We cry so much. And I don't cry. I cry because the dignity of your womanhood has been taken away.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm saying no. So when we go into a school and we eradicate period poverty in one school, you're taking 200 or 300 or 800 girls and you're giving them sanitary wear that's going to last them for 5 years. They don't have to worry about having an accident at school. Can you imagine writing exams? I want to just put it out there, isn't it? You're writing your final matric exam, and say you're writing maths, and now you can feel, because as a woman you can feel when you're going to menstruate, and you feel, oh, it's coming now. How are you going to write your exam? So I'm a blue-collar worker, and I'm on the factory line, and I'm working with machinery, and now I can feel it's coming. Do you think that my productivity is going to be what it should be when I know that this is going to happen to me now, and I'm going to have an accident, and I'm going to be ashamed. I'm going to be shamed. My productivity is going to go down. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying, corporate South Africa, you can eradicate this. You can actually stop this. Give a woman her dignity back. Your productivity in your factory is going to go up. Think about what I'm saying.
So Nadine, we are talking of gender-based violence, and we're talking of the period poverty.
Yes.
I just want to understand the linkage. Please make the link for us. My understanding, as you say, is that period poverty is just another form of gender-based violence.
100%.
But I just want to understand it clearly from your angle.
100%. By the government not doing anything about period poverty, they're actually creating gender-based violence. Think about it. You're not allowing, you're taking women's dignity away. So the link is very close, but people don't think about it.
Yes.
The majority of us don't think about it because we're privileged, But go and walk, that saying that says, go walk a mile in another man's shoe. So I want to challenge everybody out there, go and walk a mile in a girl or a woman's shoes that menstruates every month. A woman menstruates for 40 years of her life. Okay, 40 years of her life. All right. I also just want to say, just think about what the impact it is on the environment. Do you know that in her menstrual cycle, a woman uses about 200 kilograms of menstrual waste. Now you put that with 20 women, it's used, and that's a lot of waste out there. So we're saying we're going to be good it's good for the environment by using sustainable sanitary wear. You're giving a woman her dignity back. She's now doesn't have to worry about, eat or bleed. Can you imagine going to the shop? Can you put yourself in that woman's position?
Yeah. So let me bring it closer to home. My daughter is 23 now, around when she was 12. And I want to link it back to what we were saying about this lady in a workshop who is about to go to her parents. Will she be productive? So that morning we are supposed to go to the gym as a family. And her mom came to me at that time to say, hey, we cannot go to the gym. And I said, why? And she said, no. Our daughter has started to go through her menstrual cycle. And at that point, I was watering the garden outside. I called her because I could see that she's not herself.
Yes.
Then I called her, and she came, and I said, your mom, I understand what you're going through. Your mom told you this. What do you understand what it means for you?
Yes.
And from that perspective, she said, no, she was open. No, they taught us at school and stuff. And then to cut the long story short, then I took it over to a point of when we go to make grocery, I would remind her to say, hey, pick up your sanitary pads.
Yes.
And I'm not saying this as a story because we are having this conversation.
Yes.
It's something that I have done.
Yes.
And maybe I should answer my question before I say, and I know it's my responsibility as another man to educate other men to be able to do that. So what I'm trying to come to and is to say to you, in your experience as you handle this, you're talking to women you're talking about training in gender-based violence. Is there a specific form of training that is addressed to men to increase their understanding of these dynamics that we're talking about?
Yes, we do.
Okay, walk us through.
So what we do is we call it the Intimate Health Workshop. So there's two parts to it. In our Intimate Health Workshop, we educate women about their bodies. And there's so many things that women don't know about their bodies. And I'll just use a couple of things. For instance, when you are going through your menstrual cycle, some women have lumps in their period and other women don't, and they talk about discharge and they don't know what's normal and what's not normal. Is there something wrong with me? How long is a normal menstrual cycle? Do I bleed for 5 days? Do I bleed for 7 days? Some women bleed for 14 days. Is there something wrong with me? So we do the education there. So we have partnered with brands that we have a panel of educated gynecologists that work with us, and we do the same with the men. So when we go there, we educate men about what happens to a woman's body. And we came up with this hashtag period power. Okay, because if you understand what happens to a woman's body, and when she is at her peak, and if you understand her menstrual cycle, you'll know how to deal with her. And I know that a lot of men sort of think, oh no, she's now acting weird, or she's angry or whatever, and then they say, no, she must be on a menstrual cycle. No, if you understand what happens to her body, it's going to empower you as a husband to know what to do and how to help your wife. And we go through the menstrual cycle in the different, we call it different seasons. So we call it winter, summer, spring, and autumn.
Okay.
And then we explain it to men like that. And it's been an incredible journey, because we have changed families. Because, with our Intimate Health Workshop, what we do is we put a little pack together for the men. And we talk about men's issues as well. We've got doctors that come in and like, when a man is age of 40, the testosterone levels drop, and we talk about that. And we just talk about intimate health issues as well, and what is good and what is bad, what's normal, what's not normal. And it sets families free. In the more sort of rural areas, the one workshop that stands out to me, there was a dad that had 7 girls. And one of his questions to the doctor was, I don't understand why my wife can't give me a son. And the doctor had to say to him, but the man's sperm determines the sex of the baby. It's not the woman. And he was like, what? And can you imagine, he must have been blaming his wife for so many years, saying that it's your fault that you can't give me a son. Meanwhile, it's not her fault. Do you understand how the dynamic changes in that family? And what we found was after our workshop with the guys, they say to us, please, can we have the sanitary wear? Take this that you've given for us. We don't want it. We want the sanitary packs to take home. So, so that's the impact that we leave with men. So it's very important. And, knowledge sets you free. So we have a lot of fun doing it. And when we go and do the education in the schools, we don't just go and drop off pads. You need to understand that that's not what we do. It's easy to go into a community and just go and drop off sanitary wear, and they don't know how to use it, because it's different to just a normal sanitary pad. So ours is sustainable, and we've got menstrual cups that we use as well. And we teach them how to use it, but then we also educate them about their bodies. We educate them about this menstrual cycle. What is your privates? What is it? Because it's vulva versus vagina. Because the vulva is the outside of your genitalia, and the vagina is the inside of your genitalia. But a lot of women don't know that. They just talk about vaginas, but it's actually that's not what it is. The outside is your vulva. So we educate. And because a lot of women don't know, and a lot of girls don't know because they don't get educated correctly in school. And then obviously from the adult perspective, we have the workshop is called My V and Me.
Yes.
Happy
okay.
V, happy me.
Okay. Happy vagina?
Happy me.
Happy me. Okay.
Yeah, because think about it psychologically. If your V is unhappy, you're unhappy.
No, correct. Yes.
You know,
yes, yeah.
so that's what we do, and we set women free. We really set women free. You know, and that is all about my sexual health at the end of the day.
Yes.
You know, and it's my sexual health is not just about sex. It's about your body. It's about the biology of your body and what is normal and what is not normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a huge program. I mean, you have articulated it. We, like I said, we go into the 1st to 16th of December, if not mistaken, and then we talk about this gender-based violence. The last engagement, I think, with the different organizations and the president, there were complaints about things being agreed to, but they still haven't materialized and stuff. And in your words, you said maybe we might not eradicate it in total, you know, but I think the little steps that we are doing are so vital. In your assessment, are we making headwinds?
Right now, no. We're impacting the woman that we touch, but it's a drop in the ocean. We need resources.
Okay.
You know, at the end of the day, for me, it's an MPO, an MPC. For me, I'm doing this out of the passion of the vision God gave me.
Yes.
To start Women's Warehouse. You know, and this is what we do at Women's Warehouse, is we uplift, educate and empower women. And then obviously from Cleatech Holdings perspective, we have the care side, which is the MPC, where we would use the CSI funding, and we call it Project Legacy. So we say to companies, partner with us with Project Legacy and leave a legacy in the community. You know, and we can work around the education. Because think about if a community is educated, you're impacting the mindset. Because that's what we want. You know, the people's mindset just needs to change. And when they have the knowledge, the mindset changes.
Correct, yeah.
And that's what we're doing. But we need resources.
Okay.
And for me, that's, you know, how do you do that? We impact as much as we can. When people donate, they do that. We run the workshops, we set people free. But we're only a small group of people that are doing it. But if we get corporate South Africa, because that's our answer, is corporate South Africa. They have to spend that money anyway.
Yes.
You know, but there's so many corporates out there that try and jiggle the system. You have no idea. I mean, we're working with corporate South Africa, and the way that they jiggle it, it's actually actually quite funny. True. But they do.
I might not know the dynamics thereof, but I'm just thinking as you're talking that there might be an opportunity within the, I don't know whether the enterprise development space on BBBE,
yes,
or on the supply chain element thereof. That seems to be an opportunity that can be taken. Yes. It's a low-hanging fruit, as we say.
And what you're saying is take your CSI, invest it back into your employees. Your employees is your most valued asset in your business. So if you're in manufacturing and you have your ladies working in your plant, why don't you take your CSI money, give it to us, but we're giving it back to you. We're uplifting, educating, empowering your staff.
Correct.
That's where we start. We start with your staff. So we're not saying, give me your money and then I'm going to go and spend it on other things. I'm going to spend it back in your staff. That's where we start. And can you imagine if we take corporate South Africa and all the women are given the sanitary wear as an induction, part of the induction, you're almost going to eradicate period poverty. Think about it.
But then how do we make that sustainable? Because induction happens once off when the person comes into the organization. How then would organization replicate it going forward?
So
in addition to CSI, I guess?
Yeah, so what you would then do is obviously run the intimate health programs for men and women. And, you know, when you've if we're looking at period poverty, you're investing the money back into, then for the next 5 years, she doesn't have to worry about it. And from HR perspective, you've got stuff on record. So after the 5 years, you can renew that again. But then your education for your men, you can do the same thing.
Yes,
your intimate health workshops, you can do with your men. And then we have the safety workshops. So your safety workshops, you can run anti-rape classes for your women. You can do anti-hijacking for your men. And your woman, you know what public transport's like. How many people get harassed on public transport?
Yeah.
And we've got a course. Is what do I do if I get harassed in public transport? A lot of women work night shift. And when they got to go home, if I'm in an Uber driver or Bolt, we've just heard about, not so long ago, how women have been attacked in Uber and Bolt when they've been taken home. So what do I do if I'm in that situation?
Correct.
And it's all about education. And this is where we're saying invest, take your CSI budget, invest back into your staff. Because then you're making an impact in your staff and in your organization.
Yes.
And the follow-on of that is that people feel they are, they're cared for, they're loved. The organization worries about them. The organization cares for them. And then automatically you're going to have sustainability from retaining your staff, and your productivity is going to go up because people that want to be in an organization and enjoy working for an organization because the organization cares about them, the productivity is going to go up. So it's a win-win situation.
Correct, yeah. Nadine, besides, which are all truth, besides the benefits that you articulate in productivity and all those things, it seems like a right thing to do.
100%.
It's as basic as that. And
yes.
I'm struggling in my mind just to bring it together to say, why is it not done? So it seems like the battle is bigger. So my question is, you are reaching corporate through marches, JSE, and you asking them to say, hey, contribute to CSI initiatives. You are going into the classroom, you teach, you facilitate in these programs, you go into rural communities, you talk to men and women alike,
Yes.
What more?
Look, I think that, we do more. We do a lot.
Yeah.
So, those two subjects are the closest to my heart, is obviously the gender-based violence and the period poverty. But then there are other areas of a woman's life with Women's Warehouse is automotive. Okay, so a lot of women get ripped off when they go and buy a car. So we educate them when I got to go and buy tires. How do I jumpstart my car? How do I change the tire on my car? How do I change the oils? If I take my car for a service, I don't know what the slip means.
Yeah.
So we educate you. So we teach you everything that you need to know about your vehicle. Then we have DIY. So our DIY is not like Leroy Merlin. They do actual workshops where they teach women how to make stuff. We're saying, no, that's for the privileged. I'm saying is this, if I'm a single mom and I have a leaky toilet, I've now got to call a contractor to come and fix my toilet. So your call-out fee is anything from 450 to 1,000 Rand. I don't have 450 Rand to pay a contractor. But I'm going to educate you. I'm going to teach you how to fix that leaky toilet. I'm going to teach you how to change the valve in your tap. I'm going to teach you how to unblock your drain. If your DB board goes or a plug blows and it goes poof and it's got the black marks, women freak out because they don't know. They think they're going to get electrocuted. We teach them. We educate them on how to do that. So, that's what we do. And then also from a household perspective, we've got a household pillar. And this is a big one, is finances. It's how do I balance my finances? So you find that, again, that we opened this because of COVID. A lot of families went through a lot of turmoil, and a lot of women lost their partners, and they don't know how to balance their lives. So we're saying, bring your balance back. How do I balance my life? And how do I balance my budget? And we give you education on budget, and then to be an entrepreneur. If I'm somebody that's earning a fixed salary every month, how do I have a side hustle to bring me extra money?
Yes,
so we teach you how to be an entrepreneur and start a business. If it means selling fit cakes on the side of the road, if it means doing something to earn extra money so that you can can actually grow as an individual, not just be the same old, you know, we changing the mindset.
So it seems like Women's Warehouse, it's a one-stop shop, if you like. I know we might not cover everything in that space, but it seems like, as we use the language, one-stop shop. So what have you seen as a value from the workshops that you have run, whether it's the finance one, whether it's the DIY, whether it's the GV, you know, success stories that you can just share with us so that we give somebody hope at home to say, these things are working?
Well, we've got a few. So let's talk about gender-based violence first. So there was a lady that wasn't married to her partner, and they were together for a while, but she was in that cycle of abuse. But she did the training with us, and the one night he unfortunately drank too much and he took drugs as well, and he tried to kill her. But she got out. He knocked her teeth out. So it's a real life. So what we teach you is real life scenario. He managed to knock her teeth out, but he didn't kill her. She got away. So that's a success story for me, is that if a woman can get away and she's still alive, you've won. You know, your life hasn't been taken. You're not one of the statistics of every 10 seconds a woman being murdered.
Yes.
You know, so, and we've got many of those. You know, just the other day, a lady was actually jogging not too far from where I stay, but she attended one of our classes, and somebody actually tried to grab her into the field, but she managed to get away because of what we taught her to do.
Yes.
So that's a success story. We have success stories from an automotive perspective where ladies have broken down on the side of the road and they've managed to successfully change their own tires and know what to do if a man stops and it looks a little bit suspect, because we teach you safety as well. We teach you what to do. Students, we do a program on the automotive side for students in grade 11 and 12 that are fortunate enough to get vehicles. Bad weather, how do I drive? You know, it's just like getting the phone call and saying, this is how you changed my life, thank you so much.
Okay.
And then obviously period poverty. Oh man, we've got so many stories there. You know, girls, their dignity has been restored. You know, they can smile now and laugh, and they can actually write their exams in peace and not worry about stuff like that. And it's also our intimate health workshops, like I said to you earlier, you know, that community, just educating the men, that whole community changed. You know, so we are making an impact, and we are making it. So those are the success stories, and you know, that's why we cry a lot, because we're women and we're allowed to cry, and when it's when it's sad and it hurts the heart. But when you walk out, you can actually go to bed and you're like, I changed somebody's life today, you know, and that's what motivates us, and that's why we do what we do.
Correct.
You know, can I just say something? It's not about me. It's not about you. And we live in a society where it's all so self-consumed. We are so self-consumed, and you see it on social media. Everybody is talking about themselves and how great they are and what they've done and all that. Just maybe look at somebody else for once and just try and make a change. And even if you just take one person and you impact one person's life, you know, it's going to change you as a person, number one, because you are actually changing somebody's life for the better.
Yes.
You're not. It takes the focus off of you and it puts the focus on somebody else.
Yes.
You know, and if we as a society can do that, where we just stop being so self-absorbed with our own lives and our own, how many likes I've got on Facebook and Instagram and all that, you know, because that's what people live and strive for, is to be needed and wanted. Take the focus off of yourself and actually focus on somebody else for a change. Make an impact or a change in somebody else's life. It's going to make you feel great. You know, you're going to be go to bed and you're going to feel, okay, I actually did something right. And then if you want to post it on social media, you can, and then people are going to like you anyway.
Yes. That's so awesome. And now you're talking on social media. I was just wondering, from an education point, do you use that platform to reach people? Okay, talk to us about that.
So every Friday we have a talk that we talk about. So you know, this month we've spoken about different stages of a woman. So in our team, you know, we're talking about through menopause. So menopause is something that is not a subject that has been spoken about a lot. And a lot of women, there's no education about menopause. So we've tackled that market, and we've been talking about menopause and what actually happens to your body and how your body changes. And we've educated women and men about that. So we do, we've got a YouTube channel as well.
Okay.
So you can go into our YouTube channel and we educate you like that.
Maybe talk about those platforms. Is YouTube? What is the name of the YouTube?
It's Women's Warehouse.
Women's all on
Everything
Facebook, Instagram. There's that consistency.
Yes.
Wow, that's so awesome, because I'll go learn about it. When you talk menopause, we hear hot flashes.
That's
about what I know, you know. so that will assist quite a lot to reach a lot of people.
Yes.
You know? And I believe that we also learned a lot in this conversation as men. And I hope I'm speaking for other men, and even my crew here sitting here, that we probably learned quite a lot. And in this podcast, when you close, we just like to find out, or to ask you to drop what we call a Life 101 lesson. And this could be based on just any experiences of your life that you came across, whether it's your experience about GBV or any other thing. And you say, if I've got the last moment to leave someone with this pot of gold, this is the lesson that I will say, hit this lesson and change your life. What would you say to that person?
I would say, I'd stick to what I said just now. Don't be so self-consumed with yourself. When you're sitting in public transport, look at the lady next to you and think about her. If you see that woman walking and she's got, how much makeup is she wearing today? What face is she wearing today? Just be a little bit more vigilant about your surroundings and the people that are in your vicinity.
Yes.
Because you can change somebody's life in your family. Be aware. Look at your children. Look at the women around you. Is somebody in your circle being abused? And it doesn't matter if you come from a poor area, if you're a CEO. I had just quickly, so around the CEO's table, I had 12 executive females, and out of the 12, 8 were abused. So at the boardroom table, look at the women and the men around your boardroom table. Take cognizance of the lady sitting next to you or the man sitting next to you, and don't be so consumed with yourself, because that's not what life's about. You know, life's about actually a society, a community. And if we can just get back to the basics of caring for each other as a community, this world would be so much better than what it is. So that's what I'd like to say.
On that note, we'd like to thank you for making time to be here with us and to open our minds as far as this subject of gender-based violence is concerned, and you being on a mission to really give people dignity, because that's my takeaway from this. At the end of the day, it's about restoring people's dignity. And the viewer at home, at the end of the day, it's about us as human beings being hardwired for connection. It's not about doing things selfishly for ourselves, but it's to work in communities and in communion with other people, so that whatever that we do can also benefit the next person. So whether it's about noticing that person being abused and being a shoulder to cry on, and even in some instances, we like to say we don't meddle in people's affairs, but you can save somebody's life by even reporting it to the authorities. So there are so many roles that we can play to be able to impact other people and touch one person at a time to reduce the level of gender-based violence. To men out there, there is nothing shameful about it, about touching the sanitary pads in the store and putting it in that basket and buy them for your daughter, for your neighbor, or any other one else. We touch one person at a time, and that's how we make a difference in this life. Until we meet in the next podcast, we really say, all be well with you.